Have you ever wondered how to create stunning lineless characters that really pop up of the screen? I'm going to share with you my tips and tricks to make your characters pop up even with a beautiful mountain scene in the background. And of course, I'll be using Procreate throughout the process, so let's dive right into it. First, let's start with a clean line drawing which acts as our guide. I'm reducing the opacity of the line art to make it easier to trace underneath. I want to make sure that my shapes are following my line template as closely as possible. Regarding lineless art, this is really the #1 tip that you should follow. Start with a good line drawing to trace over. As always, my go-to brush for this process is the Procreate's default dry ink brush. It has a little bit of texture that I like, and I modified the streamline to 20 to 40% just to make sure that I have a little bit more control over my line tracing. We'll begin by picking up a base color for the skin, and that will act as our first layer from which we'll start building up our drawing from bottom to top. So I'm going to trace the outline of the character using a layer underneath the line art. So whenever you draw a shape, remember to close the loop properly so we can drop the color in. Because if you don't close the loop, the color will bleed all over the page. So always double check that your shapes are properly closed out before dropping the color. And next we pick up the color for the hair, and in this case I use a nice black color. Now I'm tracing the outline of the hair and filling it in. There could be a little bit of a gap between the shape's outline and the color I drop in. This will happen more often than not, especially when the color threshold is low. With the brush, I clean up any rough edges manually and color in these gaps. And make sure to zoom in really to see what you might have missed. Now let's move on with the white shirt. It's the same process. I create the outline and then I drop the color within the outline shaped. And to add a little bit of fun to the drawing, I'm going to throw a little bit of yellow for the socks. So now the character is wearing fun, cool yellow socks. Also, just so you know, I'm a top teacher on Skillshare, and I'm offering you an exclusive 30-day free access to Skillshare. That means that you can explore my classes, deep dive into Procreate and Procreate Dreams, but also classes of other amazing teachers on the platform. Skillshare is an amazing platform with tons of creative classes from illustration and graphic design to photography and animation, you name it. It's really perfect for leveling up your skills. Now let's add some dimension by creating shadows. I'll place darker shapes in key area. For example, the one under the chin is a big one. By adding this triangle, it instantly gives the character a little bit more of a three-dimensional look, showing that the head is casting a shadow on the neck. So the head is not only a circle, but it's really more of a sphere. I'll also add a bit of folds in the shirts with darker colors, so in this case, a darker gray. And I strategically add some lines to show where the shirt will fold naturally. Now I add some detail on the checkered shoes, and let me know in the comment if you recognize these shoes, because these used to be my favorite when I was younger. You can see that the hair, shirt, and pants are all on the same layer. If I tap on the layer, I'll be able to select it. You see those zebra lines? Anything within those wiggle lines, I won't be able to draw on. And here I'll be adding some reflection on the hair by tracing zigzags with a lighter color. Okay, so now let's move on to the face. I'll trace a half circle for the mouth in dark and add a new layer on top with a clipping mask. So then I can fill it in red for the tongue. Finally, I'll add some beady eyes so you can see that whenever I keep my pencil down, after closing a shape, you can correct the shape to be smoother. So here my ellipses, or is it an ellipse? My oval is much smoother. And use the eraser tool just like a brush to clean up edges. In this case, I'm still using the dry ink with a smaller brush size to clean part of the drawing. With the second character in the scene, we're going to repeat the same process. I'm going to speed that part up, but please watch because it's highly satisfying and it doesn't hurt to see the process being repeated to better learn the whole process. So once we're happy with the flat color, it's time to add some shading. First, I will flatten all the colors layers together by pinching them, and now we'll duplicate the flattened layer. And on the new layer, we'll apply a gradient map. I'm going with Venice to add some more warmer vibes and cooler tones to the character. What I really like about Venice is that it goes from purple to orange. And purple really reflects the natural hue of shadows because the shadows are always a little bit cooler, a little bit like a darker purple. And light is a little bit warmer. It's always a little bit more of an orangey yellow. We then set the layer to multiply and then we create a mask. With my mask created, I'm going to use a black brush and we're going to hide part of the darkened multiple layer, because multiply will make your drawing a little bit darker. The black will reveal the original flat color underneath, which is lighter. To be consistent with our drawing, we're going to imagine that our light source is on the top left corner. We start by revealing a little bit of the layer underneath from the finger, the hand, the arm, the head, hair, and leg. So we start with the base colors, the shadows, and the highlights. And then we keep layering, refining, and also ensuring that everything fits with the light source for consistency. So this is what we have so far. Maybe I think that the light source is a little bit too dramatic. So with 2 fingers, I'm going to reduce the opacity of the multiply layer to soften the shadow and give everything a more natural look. And that's it. We've got a fully rendered character in a lineless style. And those 2 characters are perfectly placed in our mountain scene. And just for the kicks of it, I'm going to use Procreate Dreams to animate some of the elements, like adding butterflies and making the characters blink in amazement of this beautiful scenery. And that was it. Thank you so much for joining me in this Draw With Me session. If you enjoyed the process or learned something new, don't forget to like and subscribe to more tips and tutorial. And I publish long videos weekly and shorts almost every day, so make sure to subscribe. And let me know in the comment what you would like me to draw next.